Adam and Eve. The first humans. The Garden of Eden and the forbidden fruit. We've all heard the story, that humanity's relationship with sex was a journey from innocence to a single, tragic fall, but that's not the truth. The truth is far more complex, far darker, and infinitely more shocking. Today, guided by archaeological discoveries, ancient texts, and modern psychology, we embark on a journey through the hidden history of sex, from the dawn of humankind to the present day. Along the way, we'll uncover what our ancestors experienced in their most intimate moments, which taboos they broke, and how things we now call fantasies have roots reaching back thousands of years. Get ready. Forget everything you think you know.
Let us travel back to the shadowed caves of the Paleolithic Age. On those ancient walls, there weren't only bison and hunting scenes. Staring back at us are the oldest human sculptures, the so-called Venus figurines, women with enormous breasts, wide hips, and swollen bellies. Were they simple ornaments? Or the evidence of the very first fetish? Perhaps, something much deeper. Anthropologist Dr. Timothy Taylor, in his groundbreaking book The Prehistory of Sex, proposes a daring idea: these exaggerated bodies were a fetish for fat, in a world ravaged by hunger and scarcity. Fat meant survival. Fat meant fertility. In those early days, sexuality was not separate from survival, it was survival. And what of incest? We tend to believe it is a universal taboo. But the truth is far more unsettling: incest is not biological, but social. Evolutionary biologists suggest that early humans quickly realized the need to seek partners outside their own kin, exogamy, to ensure genetic diversity. For Claude Lévi-Strauss, the incest taboo was humanity's very first social contract, the cornerstone of alliances with strangers, and the foundation of civilization itself. And group sex? At Catalhoyuk, a settlement 11,000 years old, wall paintings show dozens of figures intertwined. Some archaeologists argue this was no ordinary decoration, but the echo of a fertility ritual, one of humanity's earliest collective sexual ceremonies. In 2022, the discovery of a new Venus figurine in France stunned researchers. With its exaggerated breasts and hips, it proved that even 25,000 years ago, humans expressed their sexual fantasies through art, the incest taboo. Not a law of nature, but a human invention. For evolutionary biologists, it was the safeguard of genetic diversity. For Lévi-Strauss, it was humanity's first great pact, the contract upon which civilization was built.
In ancient Egypt, pharaohs married their own sisters, and at times even their own children, in order to keep their divine bloodline pure. Cleopatra herself was the daughter of a pharaoh who had married, and later murdered, his own sister. For them, incest was not a taboo, but a sacred duty. Ancient Greece presents us with a sexuality that shatters our modern understanding. As psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan noted, sexuality for the Greeks was not about the opposite sex, but about being active or passive. The relationship between an erastes, an older man, and an eromenos, a young boy, was not only accepted but celebrated, blending education, mentorship, and spiritual love. Even in Plato's Apology of Socrates, traces of these bonds can be found. Rome, on the other hand, was both the peak and the downfall of excess. Emperor Caligula turned his palace into something resembling a brothel, forcing senators' wives to serve there. Orgies among the Roman elite were not only acts of lust but also a theater of power. To claim the bodies of other spouses was to demonstrate absolute dominance in the social hierarchy, and India. The Kama Sutra, written in the 4th century BCE, was never just a manual of sexual positions. It was a sophisticated philosophical text, devoted to one of life's 3 ultimate aims: kama, desire. It taught the art of love, marriage, pleasure, and even how to choose a partner. Unlike today's hookup culture, it celebrated intimacy and spiritual connection. According to a 2019 National Geographic report, DNA tests on Egyptian mummies confirmed that nearly 60% of pharaohs married close relatives. It revealed how power was reinforced through sexual control. In ancient Greece, sexuality was less about gender than about roles, active or passive. For Jacques Lacan, the Eros Ceraminos bond was both erotic and educational. Greek mosaics depict scenes of young boys and adult men in social and erotic connection, a normalized part of daily life. The period when the Church approved sexuality only for reproduction actually laid the groundwork for fetishes and fantasies. Everything that is suppressed eventually returns with greater force. In the Middle Ages, the belief in sexual intercourse with the devil, incubus/succubus, was widespread. According to historian Walter Stevens, these stories were often religious frameworks imposed on erotic dreams, nightmares, or perhaps involuntary sexual fantasies. Women, experiencing intense sexual dreams or even episodes of sleepwalking, could only explain them as the influence of a demonic being, and then there is the myth of the chastity belt. Popular culture tells us these were used by crusaders. Yet most historians argue that in practice they were almost never used. Instead, in the 18th and 19th centuries, they were produced as objects of erotica or satire, reflecting sexual anxieties and fantasies. A projection of suppressed desire, Inquisition records show that accusations of incest were often used as weapons, a way to slander neighbors or enemies. Sexuality had become the dirtiest tool of all. Although Freud was criticized for linking everything to sexuality, he undeniably sparked a revolution. Our unconscious desires and childhood experiences were shaping our sexual identities. The Oedipus complex explained the psychological dimension of the incest taboo, but for more extreme examples, we must turn to Alfred Kinsey. In the 1940s and 50s, his massive surveys shocked American society. Kinsey revealed that a significant portion of people were not exclusively heterosexual, that premarital and extramarital relations were astonishingly common, and that fantasies and fetishes, such as foot fetishism, leather, and rubber, were far more normal than previously believed. According to his findings, 62% of people enjoyed at least one element of BDSM. His work introduced the idea that sexuality exists on a spectrum. Masters Johnson, on the other hand, entered the laboratory and photographed people during orgasm. By mapping the human sexual response cycle, they debunked many myths, including the supposed distinction between vaginal and clitoral orgasms. Today, the internet has become a super accelerator for fetishes and fantasies. The Rule 34 of the internet states, if it exists, there is porn of it. A digital proof of the limitless imagination of human sexuality. According to the Kinsey report, 62% of people enjoy at least one element of BDSM. In 2020, an online survey revealed that 48% of adults included power exchange elements in their fantasies. Masters Johnson debunked many myths by observing human orgasmic responses under laboratory conditions. Today, the internet, through the Rule 34 principle, amplifies fetishes and fantasies. A 2021 article revealed that on adult gaming and VR platforms, users were turning to surprisingly creative fantasies. Human sexuality now knows no boundaries in the digital world. So, what has this long journey taught us? The history of human sexuality is not a story of decline, but of constant transformation. The innocence of Adam and Eve was a myth. From the very beginning, humanity has used sexuality not only for reproduction, but also for power, for reaching the divine, for bonding, for self-expression, and for pushing the boundaries of experience. Suppression never destroyed it, it only made it more complex, and sometimes, more dangerous. All the debates we face today, sexual orientation, gender identity, freedom of expression, are in fact modern reflections of a condition that has existed for thousands of years. The one thing that has never changed is that sexuality remains one of the most fundamental, most creative, and most mysterious aspects of human nature. In modern society, discussions around sexual orientation, gender, and freedom of expression are echoes of age-old human conditions. Sex continues to be the most creative and mysterious part of human existence.